Okay, so Newcastle, they've finally woken up in this transfer window. Matt Target is on a permanent. Nick Pope done a couple of days ago. Now it looks like Sven Botman's done 37 million euros of add-ons. I think this is a bit of an overpayment for Sven Botman, if I'm being totally honest with you, but I like the signing. I think it's the right type of signing. When you're a club like Newcastle that are trying to break the top six, buy players that are probably good enough to play for a top six club, but either a bit too young or a top six club isn't willing to take a punt on. And this is the type of signing Newcastle should make. I really like Sven Botman. I think, obviously, he's had a bit of a drop-off last season. Obviously, last season he was playing for a very ball-dominant Lille side under Galtier, and he kind of looked like he could be one of the next big things, and there's still reasons to think that. He's very good on the ball. He's a decent ball progressor, although he has dropped off quite a lot in that recently. He's pretty aerially dominant as well. For a young centre-back playing in Liga to win in 3 aerial duels is pretty good. And look, 89% pass completion and 2.7 progressive pass might not sound incredible, but, Lille on this season, Lille are a side that are averaging 50% possession. They're not like this incredibly ball-dominant side like they were last season, which could explain why his on-the-ball numbers have dropped off a little bit. But I think there's a lot to like about Botman. He's added goals to his game this season. Obviously, last season he got none. He's got 3 this season. And winning 3 aerial duels for a young defender in a physical league. Liga is a physical league. Is always a good sign. 78 passes on your left foot's a good sign. The one thing I do have concern about this is I assume Sven Botman will play next to Dan Burn. So you've got 2 left-footed centre-backs. That's a bit of a concern. But, he's clearly decently two-footed. Having 78% of your passes on your left foot's pretty good for a guy that's playing on the left. When you compare that to Dan Burn, Dan Burn's on 88. So he's clearly two-footed enough to play that role. Look, I do think Newcastle have paid, but they've got a young, ball-dominant centre-back who, look, he's not particularly active. He's not a guy that does loads of defending, but that doesn't mean you're a bad defender. Loads of really good defenders don't actually do a lot of defending, if that makes sense. And when you look at the centre-backs, FBref kind of thinks he profiles like the main 3, Matthias de Ligt, Jonathan Tart, and obviously Neef Egered, who's gone to West Ham recently. Those are all positive signs. I think there's a lot to like about Botman. I think going from Liga to the Premier League's a pretty easy transition. We've seen that with Bruno Guimaraes. Ligue 1's a more physical league than people give it credit for, so I don't think there'll be an issue with that. He's a good age. Buying a 22-year-old centre-back's never a bad thing. And even if Sven Botman's bad, there is resale value there for Newcastle. It's a position that obviously needs strengthening for Newcastle. Obviously, when Eddie Howe came in on the 8th of November, as good as Newcastle were, in that time they were 6th in the league, which is obviously impressive. Ultimately, they're still conceding a decent amount of goals. 41 expected goals against that time, which isn't terrible. Obviously, it's fine. But I think Dubravka did help that. Dubravka had a very good second half to the season. And the one thing I've always criticised Eddie Howe for, especially at Bournemouth, was he was so reliant on the defenders that got him promoted, and he just never transitioned that defence, bar Nathan Ake. He stuck with Steve Cook. He stuck with Charlie Daniels. He stuck with Adam Smith. He never got rid of them. And he just kept with these same guys, even though they kept shipping goals. And I think it's a good sign that he's clever enough to identify that even though Shah and Dan Burn have done a good job, they need to upgrade in that position. That's a positive for me. He's two-footed. He's good on the ball. Of course, they've dropped off a little bit. He's on 2.7 progressive passes this season. Last season on 4.5 and was one of the best in Europe in that metric. So he's dropped off on the ball a bit, but I think Lille's drop off kind of can explain for that. And he's still a young centre back developing, right? And I think Newcastle nearly bought Diego Carlos in January for, was it like 40 million? Sven Botman's a much better defender than Diego Carlos. Diego Carlos for me is a very overrated centre back personally. So I think there's a lot to like about this. Of course, it's a bit of an overpayment. There's a bit of concern having 2 left-footed centre backs. And I guess you can maybe ask the question, if you're being really picky, Man United, Chelsea, Tottenham all need left-footed centre-backs. None of them have gone in for Sven Botman. Is there a reason for that? I think his numbers look really good. I think this is a really good signing for Newcastle. It's a signing I'd want my club to make in Wolves, but why have none of those top 6 clubs gone in for him? Maybe that's a concern. And I think Newcastle have overpaid a little bit, but generally I think this is the right type of signing. Even if this doesn't work out, you can't really slag off Newcastle's logic and Dan Ashworth's logic. And quickly on Nick Pope. Nick Pope's a great signing. Last season had the 3rd best post-shot XG in the Premier League. Don't get me wrong, Dubravka was great, but you've got to future-proof that position. Dubravka's had a couple of injuries before, and he's getting on a bit. Having 2 competitive goalkeepers is never a bad thing. He was only behind Jose Sarr, who was obviously elite last season, probably the best goalkeeper in Europe, and David De Gea. And the season before that, again, 6th best post-shot XG in the Premier League. And was better than Dubravka that season as well. Of course, it's not like an imminent thing that Newcastle really need to upgrade. Balls with 10 million quid. another homegrown player. There's no issues with Nick Pope, and all of a sudden you look at that back line and Matt Targett, Nick Pope, Sven Botman, Dan Burn, Kieran Trippier. All of a sudden that's, Newcastle's defence last season. I was looking at it and going, oh my god, how are these guys not getting relegated? Now all of a sudden you look at that and go, okay, that's probably a minimum top 8, top 9 Premier League level defence, especially with Bruno Guimaraes marking that as well, who's always had good defensive output. So yeah, this is moving in the right direction. I still think Newcastle need like one superstar attacker and probably one more holding midfielder. I don't know if Etikite will be that or not, and I haven't really seen them linked with any central midfielders, but generally Newcastle are a club going in the right direction. They're not as stupid as I thought they would be. And yeah, good moves for Newcastle. Probably positive for your Geordie. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel, like the video, tweet me what you think of Sven Botman if you want to. Yeah, peace.